All right, we are live. Welcome everyone back again. Another episode of our football shows we've been doing. By now, you know me, Josh, and you know my guy Dragon down here. We have a special guest tonight, though. Very excited for Mr. Jeff Walker with us, UVA punter from 81 to 83. Jeff, was your starting? Is that right?
Yeah, 80, 85. I
85.
took
Okay.
I took the bowl year off like a dummy. So
Skipped a good one.
yeah, I know, and that as luck would have it. You know, I love to explain that. I forgot to go to class for a couple of months, and it caught up to me. So
Damn their school and their academic standards.
I know. That's crazy, crazy. Nobody to blame but myself, but it's all good. It's all good. All good.
Yeah.
Good to be here, guys. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for jumping in. Thank you for
Oh
joining
yeah.
us.
So excited when you said you wanted to join. For those that are around on forum, Cav text on there.
Yep.
Everybody knows him, welcoming face. It's kind of nice to have. So we'll kind of jump right into it. Everybody's wanting to talk about truthfully, is it one of the biggest games in program history? Can we say, now that they've won the game and, the imagery that was caught with it and everything else. Florida State came in, number 8 ranked team in the country. Virginia had them on the ropes early, quick 14-0 lead. Little bit of struggles after that. I think, just my opinion, Chandler had a little bit of some issues locking in on some receivers, I think, kind of forcing some balls on some interceptions, which let Florida State back into the game. And then from there, it just kind of became a street fight. I mean, it was just heavyweight punch after punch, went into 2 overtimes before the Hoos ended up winning, stopping a 4th down that was intercepted in the end zone. I'm sure anybody seeing, saw the shots of the students rushing in right on top of the play and just kind of how maybe kind of dangerous, but like also awesome that image looked. I mean, it just quite a scene for college football. What did you guys think? Jeff, I'll let you start on this one.
Well, that was incredible. I think you have to rank that in the top 5 all-time wins for the program. Modern day for sure. When do you start looking at the historical wins? Back in, I think, in '79, they beat Georgia at Georgia. They beat Tennessee at Tennessee. They shut out Tennessee in front of, I don't think Neyland Stadium had 100,000 people, but it was still a big time win. And then, of course, the Peach Bowl, the one we were just talking about, that 1984. Mikowski and my fellas, that I grew up with those guys, play with those guys, still talk to some of them occasionally. Beating Jim Everett and Purdue, that was a huge win. And then, of course, 95, beating Florida State, exactly 30 years later. And don't forget about the Clemson curse that they broke. That was a big time win. And going down there to Clemson and beating Clemson was a big deal because George, whenever he was around, first and foremost, he wanted to kick everybody's ass in North Carolina, and he owned the Big Four, right? State, Duke, Wake, and Carolina. He owned them. But he set his sights on Clemson because Clemson was the bellwether back in those days, and they were a machine. And George took us to heights that I never would have dreamed we'd have gone to. So, but it definitely is in the top 5 for sure. Maybe number one. Considering what all that program has been through the last couple of years. Losing those young men the way that they passed on, and what Elliott had to do after the fact. I don't think he gets enough cred for that. I don't think he gets enough credit for the way he handled that situation, and what he has done since then. Is he the most charismatic guy in the world? Probably not, but that's why he has assistant coaches. So that's my 2 cents on that win. But man, what an incredible game. I had a feeling earlier in the week that something special was going to happen whenever they announced that they're going to wear those throwbacks. I told my wife, I said, they're going to beat Florida State. I didn't think it was going to be a damn track meet. I thought it was going to be more of a rumble in the jungle type of thing, but it was, damn, it was sweet, 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 sweet. Proud to be a Who.
Amen to that.
I'm getting the hair is standing up on my arms right now thinking about that shit, man. So, oh, excuse me, we're on TV, so sorry about that.
Don't get us kicked off YouTube already.
Out of here.
What about for you, Dragon? What was Friday night like, and what are your thoughts on it?
I mean, it was pretty magical in a lot of ways. I agree with Jeff. I think it's got to be a top 5 for the program all time in terms of importance. I know I've been going back and forth with some of the guys on the forum about it, and a lot of people, there's a bit of a recency bias for the 19 win over Tech, which was a big deal to break that. What was it at that point? 16, 17-year streak. But for me, I think Jeff really hit it on the head. When you think of the context of where this program is today, think about how we all sat around this virtual room on that forum a year ago at this time, and we all thought this program was about to die. For being honest, this program was like the baseball program in 01. It was on its last legs.
Mm-hmm.
And to come out a year later, and that doesn't even count what happened in 22 with the tragedy and just all the magnitude. I mean, it's been a long time since we've had something as Virginia fans to sink our teeth into. And it's not just that it wasn't a fluky win. They won that game. They went out there and took it from Florida State. They took Florida State's best shot. Castellanos, as much as I gave him a hard time on this show last week, he played his tail off.
Yeah,
I mean, he had a Heisman moment when he converted that 4th down to send the game to overtime. That throw was as perfect of a pass as I've seen. I mean, an inch lower is incomplete, an inch wider, he sends this guy out of bounds. Like, that was perfect play. And for the Who's to come in and take that win on national television against a top 10 team in this moment, again, where the program is trying its best to create a new life that it's never experienced before, it's a monster. The amount of coverage that this game has gotten, not just because of the field storming, but just going into the game, several of the national podcasts and shows that I watch were talking about this game in anticipation of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the last time that happened for a Virginia team. Coming out of this game, I think I counted 6 articles on ESPN today that had it referenced on part of their weekend recap.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the last time. Again, unless it was something fluky, they blew a weird cover or did something silly. You don't really hear about them nationally like that. I'm down here in Atlanta and outside of Atlanta. I told people, like, I was walking around Saturday all over the place doing my thing with my gear on, and people were stopping me. What a game last night. What a game last night. That was amazing. I was hearing people talk about, did you see the double overtime game last night? That's in the heart of SEC country on the day that Florida or that Georgia and Bama were going to do battle. And they're talking Virginia football. That's when you've made it. Does it to get it to that number 1 slot? They have to do something. They have to follow it up, and I think that's part of why I kind of knocked down that 19 game against Tech, was because yes, it was great to break the streak, but essentially everything fell flat for the next 5 years. They lost the ACC championship game in the blowout. They lost the Orange Bowl in the blowout. COVID happened. 19 months later, coach is gone. We're resetting the program. So this week and what happens the next 9 weeks is really going to be the telltale of how important the magnitude of how this game lives on. But I don't know if they still do ESPN Classic. This game's definitely ESPN Classic. It's one of the ones like the 95 game that I would go back and watch when I was a freshman in college in 01. I would make my friends watch it. When it would come on the ESPN Classic, I was like, I remember this night and how much it meant to me.
Right.
When I make you guys watch it.
Yeah, that's what. So before we went live, Jeff was actually saying that the game is already on ESPNU, like the replays of it, almost an instant classic situation.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's on. I'm watching it right now. We just scored. So
it was a seriously great game. Take away the Virginia bias. It was a great, like, if you like football, that game was as good as it gets. And it was an old school shootout. Like, they did about running the ball down each other's throat. You don't see that in 2025.
One thing about that game too is was exchanging a couple text messages with our message board member Carl Hess, and he said we bullied Florida State,
and
I was like, yeah, we did. We did. I mean, the defensive front I was concerned early whenever, they were gashing us for 7 and 8 yards. I was like, oh shit, they're going to run for 700 yards and, it's going to be a long night. But they stepped up. They started running some stunts in the second half. They started slanting. I don't know if you guys saw that, but they started
Yep.
slanting, and it wasn't always to the field. It was sometimes it was towards the boundary, and they confused the quarterback. And I will say that throw he made in the end zone. I watched it 100 times, probably like you guys did. That was an incredible throw, and the throw he made whenever our guy picked it off, it was that close to sending all those kids back up the hill.
Yeah.
I mean, it was close.
I mean, he threw a dime on third down. I mean, that was a dime. I mean, that was if what's his name, Robinson, wasn't so worried about sticking his fingers and getting in the face of the kids on the hill.
Right.
It was just the only
Exactly.
thing I can excuse why he dropped that pass
Right.
was he was already thinking, I'm going to go start talking trash to these 4,000 kids here on this hill and in the student section. And I mean, he threw a dime. I mean, you got hit right in the red box.
He did, and he missed a couple easy throws earlier in the game. But whenever he got his feet up underneath of him, so to speak, he was not the same guy who wore that BC uniform last year. Because last year, I happened to be at the BC UVA game. I was actually in the end zone with my guy Will Frazier, who played for us years ago with me, and we confused the hell out of him. The safety, Jonas, was it Jonas Sanker?
Sanker was playing for us.
Yeah. He was unbelievable that game, but he didn't know where the coverage was. I mean, the Rudzinski, that was a game of his life up until that point. He called everything, with the exception of the first couple series whenever they went boom, 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 and they were up 17-7 or something like that. But yeah, he did not look like the same quarterback that donned the BC uniform.
I mean, same. I gave him no. I was very hesitant on him last week on the show, just having watched him earlier in the season. I was like, hasn't really been tested, but I know what I saw last year, and I mean, the way he engineered that offense for them and the way he was pulling that ball on the reads. I mean, he was Heisman-esque, especially this year's race where there's no front runner. I mean, he played great, but Josh, how about that offensive line for the Hoos?
Man,
how about our big hogs up front?
Most exciting thing of the game, at least for me, because that was like my big concern going. I mean, we talked about it last week, and it fairly so, I think. I mean, not that anybody really done anything horribly wrong, but like these are all new guys for the most part. I mean, Josie's been there forever, but like we're trying to work these guys in. There's been, multitude of injuries. There's 3 guys that you could
argue guys were out going into the game,
on the field that are out. I mean, how about the way that just all 3 of the guys that had to step up? Metcalf moving over, Wigginton after. Truthfully, he struggled last week, and I think even Coach Elliott acknowledged it in his post-game interview when he said that he kind of was out there on one leg. I think was the term he used.
Yep.
So if he's playing through it, kudos to him for getting out there. But I mean, there's no doubt about the struggle that he had in that game. And then the right tackle spot to me had been kind of the weakest point so far all year, just because of the multitude of injuries. I mean, guys have been rotating in and out of that spot. I think we've seen 3 different guys play right tackle, and none of those 3 were the guy that we built this roster to play right tackle for. So, for Whitmer to step up the way he did too, I think he might have graded out as the best lineman of the night. Even it was a heck of a night for all the guys. I mean, up front it was awesome.
Yeah, well, yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
No, I was just going to say the center 60. I don't remember his name, but he called a great game. With protection and that, and the fact that we ran the ball down their throat a lot of times was, Taylor was gashed them 7-8 yards, and then Xavier came in there and he just, he did the same thing. It was a thing of beauty. It was a thing of beauty to see them.
I believe we ran the ball 10 times in the second half and overtimes combined.
Yeah.
2025. And it wasn't because we scored 46 points.
Yeah.
This isn't some,
it's crazy
games where it's like, oh, it's 6-5 or whatever, 9-6. It's in Iowa. They were putting no points.
Right.
It's because they ran the ball.
I
30
know.
some odd times in the second half. And everyone, to your point, just everyone was running it. Like
Mhm.
my biggest scare of the night was actually early in the fourth quarter. Morris pulls it on a read. He scampers into the end zone, and Ross, I believe it was, got called for the holding on the edge.
Yeah.
And I was so worried because I just said I was watching it. My mom's a UVA alum as well. And I was like, he's going to pull it on the next one. He's got to pull it because they were starting to catch up to him. And he'd been playing that game so well all night, letting the backs have it, whether it be Taylor or whether it be, Brown or whoever. I was like, he's setting them up. He's setting them up. And sure enough, he went to pull it. And I was like, that was the moment. Like, you only get one of those every so many plays. You get to start the whole thing over again.
Exactly.
And I was like, daggone it. He broke it for a touchdown. I was like, well, maybe it's not our night. Because, I knew we couldn't go for 3. I was like, 3 is not an option in this game. You got to go for 7 every time.
Well, they ran that in the next play. They ran that wheel route right down the sideline.
Then he throws a dime on the real right, and I was like, or you can just do that. Well, because at that point he threw one pass all the entire half. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, I just wonder if they shot his hand up because it looked like at one point he hit that quarterbacks hate that whenever they're throwing the ball and hit the guy's helmet. So
he definitely had a hand thing. I think that I would not be surprised at all if that played into it. Why they didn't throw it, but then to his credit, like they kept running him though. That was the thing I thought was when I figured you're not going to have your quarterback with one thumb on your throwing hand. We start having to roll them out, and they were still rolling them out on intentional design runs, which I was surprised by. So I think you might be right. They gave him a shot. They had to give him something. I'm just not sure. Like, I still am curious, like what the extent of the damage is to that thumb. He definitely banged it on someone's helmet there.
Yeah, he did. I tell you, somebody else we probably need to give a shout out to is a strength and conditioning guy, because the Noles looked gassed in the second overtime. Mm-hmm. They looked like they were ready to go home, and our guys were pumped.
Yeah, and you can't say it's because of the heat, because if anyone knows how to play heat, the Noles should be prepared for it. But that's that work they put in July and August. That doesn't happen now. That happened 5 months ago when they were running sprints. Yep. And so you're absolutely right though.
Yeah. Good stuff.
And I think it's probably part of why you think of the number of weapons. You have 4 running backs. You have 5 legitimate options at receiver, including two legitimate tight ends you can run out there. So, I mean, you can keep things fresh. But, I mean, those big boys up front, though, to go on those, a 16-play drive as an O-lineman is just – that's a death march. That's a death and to be running it the entire time.
Exactly. Because, a lot of times those defensive linemen, they forget their technique. They start standing up and peeking because they're tired, right? They start standing up trying to find the ball. Boom. And next thing you know, Jabari Taylor. I mean, good God, that guy. He reminds me a lot of he's got a little bit of TJ Thomas Jones in him. I don't think he has as much wiggle as TJ had. But he is that one hit and that one run, and I watched it. The game was on again last night. I watched it last night. I'm watching it again. But he hit that guy. I think it was in the fourth quarter, and he hit a guy on the Florida State sidelines and just decleated him.
He did. He had 2 or 3 assists on that series. Yes. He had like 2 or 3 runs in a row where he was laying guys out. He had one on the right hash mark where he just flat out ran over a dude. He ran over a DB, and then he came back about 2 plays later, to your point, and they tried to get him out of bounds, and he just lowered his shoulder and did not. Yeah. He was just not going down. He was like, I'll step out, but I'm not going down. I'm going to lay the wood. Yeah. And he was thumping. He was thumping some dudes out there.
He was. Yeah. He had an incredible game. I mean, and the coaches did too. And I know I've been very critical of some of the things that they've done in the past, and especially play calling. But I tell you, Dez, knock on wood, has been on point up until this point. He called a masterful game the other night. I did take a little issue with a couple of plays whenever it looked like we were trying to get real conservative. A couple of those dive plays, and you know, you guys know football. You run this play to set up that play type of thing. But at that point in time, we were done setting stuff up. We were just trying to run out the clock and get some yards. But that one dive play, you know, they ate that up. But yeah, I thought he was should have been a recipient of a game ball. I think he did that well.
That's about. What are your thoughts, Josh, about how that game was called? You were there, and so how did it feel?
Damn!
Being on the ground and seeing it live.
It was kind of a weird game because honestly, a lot of the plays on both sides of the ball were fairly easy to see from in the stands. I was sitting a little higher up. I was in the lower level, but kind of at the top of the section. So it's a little easier to kind of get that vantage point, but you could kind of see, you know, just pretty much the whole first half, really, we calling plays left to right. You could just see what was coming. I'm with Jeff, though. I think that Dez called a great game. That it was right around the 2-minute warning stretch aside where it was like, if we could just get a first down or two, we could ice the game and not have to go to overtime. You know, he did. He got way too conservative there, and it was way too vanilla in that conservativeness. I mean, just trying to go straight up the gut and not really getting anywhere with it and giving them the ball back with that opportunity, you know, then send it to overtime like they did kind of sucked, really. I mean, but all's well that ends well, right? Like it could have definitely been worse. If all we have to deal with is a bad, basically 45-second of game time stretch, you know, right. I don't really have any complaints. One thing I was going to bring in, so we had this comment in the forum here. Jeff thought this would be right up your alley. Talking about Will Bettridge going out, and he drilled the field goal. I mean, he nailed it. And on top of that, too, so I looked at some stats before we just go into that specifically. So in the game, 5 for 5 extra points. He made his only field goal. And then in the ACC, he's the point scored leader in the conference.
Well, that's because we're the 9th highest scoring team in the nation right now. It's kicking a lot of extra points.
Right.
He is. He's getting them. But still, I mean, he's making them, though. That's kind of what I'm getting at. Like, as much as he's been giving him, you know, like he is, he's got some numbers there.
No, you're absolutely right. And I see the comment you just pulled up to Josh's. I was scared. I was scared. I was the most scared I was all game was when he allowed him to take that kick.
I left the room. I said, I'm gonna go walk around a little bit. Somebody called me when the game's over because I said, the hell, there's no way he's gonna make that. But that was the biggest kick of his life. Probably.
100%. You're actually, that was the most important game. That was definitely the most important kick of his college football career.
Oh yeah.
And I thought he was gonna miss it. I was that scared. I remember. I don't think I left the room, but I was definitely pacing and scared to look. I was absolutely terrified to look because I know you just put the stats there, Josh, but like all I see is that squib knuckleball thing that went over against Stanford a week ago. That I've never seen a kick come out sideways somehow. It's been this way.
I might be wrong, but did they say that ball was tipped? I want to say, trying to give him benefit of the doubt.
It must have been. I mean, I assumed it had to be just because it was so bad. I've never seen a kick that bad by a college kicker at a Division I level. Like,
no.
I know I joke around like I could teach anyone. I could literally teach anyone to go out there and have kicked the ball better than the way that one looked within less than a week of practice.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Yeah, the thing that he doesn't possess an explosive leg. You know, he's adequate. If that's, and there's nothing wrong with being adequate. You know, there's nothing wrong with being serviceable as a kicker. You know, as long as you know your limitations. 47 yards, 48 yards, we're punting the ball. You know, not in that situation, but in a normal game time situation. Right. But you know, you watch those kids in the SEC when they kick the ball on their extra points, that ball jumps off of their leg. And it just, you know, it's got a lot of hang time. His ball is more of a line drive. I play a little bit of golf, and whenever he hit that ball against Stanford, I said, "Damn, he hit a hosel rocket." Is basically what that was. You know, I mean, that was crazy. I will tell you, when I was a sophomore in high school, I kicked straight on, and that's the only way I could kick. Right?
You cut off the toe of your cleats. You have a nice square front.
I had a square toe, and I kicked the ball off. I was Albemarle's high school's kicking team for 4 years. I kicked as a freshman all through as a senior. But we were playing Charlottesville at Scott Stadium, and we hadn't scored on Charlottesville in like 10 years. And we get down to like the 2-yard line, and we can't do anything. So they send me in to kick the field goal. Right? And it's shorter than an extra point. I almost missed the ball. I was ready to celebrate, and I looked up, and they got a picture of it in the yearbook that year, and the holder is going like this, and I kicked his hand. I kicked his hand. To this day, Chuck Baker, he runs a Toyota dealership in Roanoke. He's a big Hokie. And to this day, every time I mention something,
probably because you kicked the shit out of his hand.
I did. I kicked it. I'm pretty sure I kicked one of his fingernails further than I did the ball. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I wasn't too proud of that moment. It was a tough trot back to the bench. Just disappointing 10 years of Albemarle High School alumni who hadn't seen a touchdown or extra point or anything for 10. You had the chance. You were right there. So anyway,
man,
I made up for my senior year. I think I kicked 3 field goals against them in our senior year, and we beat them. So
there you go.
All well that ends well, right?
That's it. Yeah, which going back, kind of wrapping up the Florida State. I get you guys' thoughts, I guess, on just kind of the feel. I'm kind of in the local area, so of course, my take on it is a little bit different. I kind of said the same thing you did last week, though, Jeff, when we did our predictions. That there was something in here that was telling me like something feels different about this game. Coming out of it, though, now that it's happened and like kind of looking at it and looking back on some of the other bigger games that have happened. The easiest one to throw is the last, in my opinion, real big one was that Tech game we talked about earlier, 2019. So for me, that game, beating Tech in that, it kind of almost felt like a culmination, like an end point, like, okay, we had achieved what needed to be done. I remember, everybody wanting that game to be done. I think Bud Foster was on his way out. And then after the game, they show Bronco in the locker room, that they break the rock, they have all the water, and he's doing that like this, and he's like
dance,
he looks like he just ran a marathon, and he's like done, right? Like that's kind of how it felt. Whereas this game for me, like honestly, I feel like this Florida State game felt like a kickoff, if that makes sense, like the start of something, sending us to where we need to be.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Obviously being Texas, Georgia, kind of around, but not locally, proximity wise close. What did it feel like for you guys out and about?
Go ahead, you go first, Jeff.
Well, I mean, again, I think it's a trajectory changer for the program. I hope that it continues to, they can build on it. I hope the coaches this week are telling them how bad they are and how they need to work harder, that Friday night is gone. We got to focus on the Cardinals now, right? And we gotta get better. Hopefully, they're not reading about how good they are and what great plays they made. And speaking of great plays, that play that number 10 made, where he batted the ball and then took it from the quarterback.
That might have been the best pick I've seen in Virginia.
That
was an athletic, tremendous play.
Very, very much so. It kind of reminded me, you guys remember a couple of years ago we played Indiana before they were anybody, and that kid, went in and stripped the ball from the quarterback. I can't remember his name, but that was very, very similar. But yeah, I mean, it's great, but I mentioned golf a few minutes ago. And I'm not very good. I'm average, if you will. But it seems like every time I birdie a hole, the next hole, it ain't a birdie, because I'm still thinking about those 3 great shots I hit on the hole before. So if we could eliminate the thought process of the post birdie blues, I think we'll be fine.
I think That's that's actually one of the big reasons I don't play golf is because I can have 2 good holes and then my next 4 crap, and I don't have time for that.
Right.
To answer your question, Jen, you had in the chat, do we know how many were in attendance Friday night? The numbers I'm seeing, I believe, Joseph, you're right. It's about 50,000, a little over 50,000. So pretty close to a packed house, which is great on a Friday night, obviously. I like that analogy, or I don't know what the right word is, that you laid out there, Josh, about how this felt like more of a beginning than a culmination. Because it was for excited as I was in 19 when that happened. I remember being like, we partied way too hard. Like, we were partying like Ovi when he won the cup for winning a game that was in the regular season. And we still had a guaranteed 2 more games at that point. And I think it showed when we came out following that. But I liked I like the temperament. And that's where I think where Tony makes his money. And I think this is where Tony shows his mettle is, he came out, pretty well. I had good quotes and good stuff in the press game after it. But that letter to the fans that he sent out today, where he immediately, if you look at the tone that he said in that, Jeff, is exactly the same things you were just saying. It's like, okay, like we came here. I want everyone to believe that we belong. This is a step of a long, much bigger journey. Mm-hmm. And I feel like they're telling him that down to a bunch of 19 and 20-year-olds who are making millions of dollars. Listen to that. I don't know. That's going to be we've not been in this position before, but I think you're right. I think that's going to be the key. Is like they're going to be hype. I said to someone on the forum who was already on Friday night, like, oh, just focus. As a coach and as a player, I hated that when people were just like, oh, just no. Enjoy it Friday night. Friday night, go out, walk the dog. I hope they were out on rugby. I hope they were having the time of their lives till 4 a.m. in the morning. And then Saturday, we had them back up and ready to rock and roll. But let them have the 24 hours to enjoy it. They earned that right. That's what you work so hard for Monday through Friday, is to get to that. And the good ones know once that's over, you dial back in. Sunday, you're back in on install. You're going back to work. You got an extra day there to even, prep. I think this staff is not going to – they know what they're doing. They know what's at stake, I should say. And I think it's pretty clear Tony has a much bigger picture than, a 6 or 7 win team. I think Chandler Morris has shown it in his quotes that he wants more than – he didn't – most of one quote, he didn't just come here just to win 5 or 6 games. He didn't leave West Texas or wherever it is he's from for that. So I think they'll be dialed in. That's the one perk of having kind of an older team as well. These guys have been through it. Like, wasn't Morris on TCU's championship game team? Because you've gotten some guys who've been around, who've played in some big spots, who can kind of help some of the other guys who have not had that moment to kind of, like I said, party like a rock star Friday night, party like a rock star on Saturday morning. Sunday, we're back at work. Let's go get it. And so, but I do feel like this is a start of something. That said, am I terrified of going to Louisville? Absolutely. Like it's a natural letdown place. Like that's not an intense environment. It's not, there's not, it'll probably be about 50,000. I don't think they're going to be rabid. I've never actually really seen that place get rabid outside of Lamar Jackson stirring the pot back in the day. And yeah, it's going to be different. And, they're going to be flying around, but they're ready to go. They're not, the Who's also are no longer just going to slip under the radar for anyone. Everyone knows that this team is putting up numbers and taking scalps.
Right. And the big thing now is what they've got to contend with is now they are the hunted.
Bingo.
Mm-hmm. And that is a different kind of mindset. All you got to do is look at our basketball program, right? What Tony Bennett did. I mean, we went from getting whipped to whipping everybody, and it was a very fun ride, no doubt. But they will be hunted every week. Every week they'll be hunted.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is, we'll talk. We're here now, so we can talk about Louisville, and it's that line's jumped to 7.5. It's actually jumping the other way. It looks like potentially, and this is probably the last time they'll be a dog all season. And Louisville, from what I've seen, I watched a little bit of film on them today, and they're not world beaters, but they will throw the ball around. And they had a nice comeback win last week against Pitt, and basically helped Pitt scoreless for a half. And they're going to have to bring the lunch bill. The defense, the secondary is going to have to get better. I feel like we said it 3 weeks in a row, but they really have to get it going at some point here because it's going to bite them in the butt at some point, and they got to show up now.
Yeah, for sure. The secondary. I was just going back to Florida State real quick. I was surprised that they didn't try to go over the top more times than they did. I was really shocked that they didn't, run several just go routes. Put 2 over here and 2 over here, and just go get open, take off. We think we're faster than you. So I look for Louisville to do that, try to take us off the top there.
Yeah, and really, to our guys' credit, I didn't think that Florida State really looked like they were faster. I mean, like you said, they didn't really try a lot either, but there still wasn't really a point where it felt like they were really outrunning us. I didn't think. I mean that kid, what's it, Danzy, I think is his last name, the freshman track star. I mean, obviously that's a world-class speed guy, but across the board, I mean, I thought we looked like we held with them pretty well. Now, granted, like you said, they didn't take a lot of shots either, but I didn't think it felt like it was. That we were on a whole different level, if that makes sense. Like I'm still with you guys. I'm still questioning, like, where is this secondary? I still don't know what to make of them.
Yeah, they've been a little bit of early on. I think I made a comment on one of the threads one time. I said we can go 10 deep in the secondary with all the people that we signed in the offseason. And I still think they're probably trying to figure out the alphas who is going to show up on Saturdays, because it's easy to be that guy when you're in shorts and a t-shirt, right? But when the pads come on and the red light's on, it's a different game.
Yeah. My biggest takeaway with the secondary right now is I think you're right, Josh. They weren't out. I thought they were out physical at the time, or just Florida State's size, not necessarily the speed, but just the actual size and better body placement and using their body and just, boxing guys out essentially. They showed that. But my bigger issue has been, it seems like mental lapses from our secondary. It's, excuse me, it's them coming up and just looking in the backfield, that jump pass where, how do you lose track of Robinson on that? Like, I'm sorry. Like, I understand there's a ton of eye candy there, but someone's got to be their job. Like, hey, this 6'9", 245-pound monster has been killing us. You look at him, and you can't see a 0 in front of you. You're looking at the wrong thing. Like, but I just feel like every game there's a breakdown where you just see that transition, especially when they run into their cover 2 sort of packages, cover 3 packages. That transition between corner and safety is just. So they don't know when to pass guys off. Whereas, a perfect example of how you do it is what Florida State did at the end there when we were just chucking the ball around 30 seconds left before overtime. They had that pick. They picked off the pass. They ran it perfectly. Their corner just dropped back, gave some cushion, let the safety come over top, and then the corner just closed at the last second to get the interception. Like, they were in communication. I feel like Virginia right now has been, for whatever reason, the corner doesn't know he's supposed to ride with the receiver, or just leaves him and expects the safety to come down, or what. But there's always seems to be a gap there where I see two Virginians looking at each other with the receiver going right between them.
Chasing
and any good quarterbacks would split that. Yeah, exactly. And they're just chasing. And any good quarterbacks would split that difference. And now you got a guy with a full head of steam, streaking down the sideline. This happened to William Mary's done it to him. Coastal's done it to him. Florida State did it to him. NC State did it to him. I just don't understand what they're looking at or what they're seeing that's causing them to look into the backfield so much. Yeah. And they just kind of forget their assignments.
Yeah, that's a good way to get into one of the questions we got from forum before we jump too deep into the Louisville stuff. Our guy Jazz, everybody knows he's one of our moderators. Had questions on both.
Second best moderator on the forum.
Second best. Yeah. Give him number 2 behind Dragon.
Yeah, the best rules are no rules. I don't censor you. I'll let y'all have what you want.
He had the 2 questions, though, about picking out the weakness on each side of the ball. And honestly, Dragon, you pretty much ran with what I was going to say on the defensive side is the secondary. I don't know that it's really a talent thing. Like you said, there's been some communication stuff. I think it was Antonio Clary even said as much in a pregame interview, after a practice one day last week, talking about trying to get the communication right. Another thing I've seen is I kind of think some of their tendencies sometimes, like sometimes they drop into zones and they kind of settle into guarding space as opposed to, finding bodies on top of that within their zones. That was one of the key plays they had. It was a deep zone that the receiver just ended up settling about 5 yards behind our guy who had kind of flattened out, and they made the big play, got down the field, put him in scoring position. Some of that stuff I think's been kind of the issue, but on that side of the ball, I think that's probably the number one thing I'm looking at right now. We'd had questions about the defensive line. I think they've really stepped up. They had a pretty good second half, I thought, against Stanford last week, and then I thought they played an excellent game. Fisher Kamek, I thought, had his best game he's had as a Who so far. Mitchell Melton was all over the place. I thought he had an excellent game. Rickert was still a force. He laid a pretty good hit one time. So they're looking better. I feel good about it. What did you guys see though? Jeff, you want to start? What did you see as, I guess, a weakness side on the defensive side of the ball?
I think we struggle sometimes to the field side, out in space a little bit. I don't know if we have the athletes at the strong safety position to make a difference, and I think we may get just a little bit of the tailback in the flat type of thing, and our linebackers, I don't know if they can cover in space. I worry about those. That reminds me of like when Charlie Ward was playing, that kind of FSU team, and I think there's got to be a lot of confusion in the corners. They turn and look at the safety like, I thought you had it. No, that's your guy. You see that way too often. I think offensively, we get a little predictable sometimes. And whenever, but I will tell you, Chandler Morris, I mean, wow. Whenever we signed him, I was like, man, I don't know. The guy, he's been around. Yeah. I mean, it's tough to substitute or trade for experience, but I didn't realize he played at OU. And hell, I lived in Norman for
he's been everywhere.
Yeah. And 80,000 people every Saturday there. So the big lights don't bother him at all. And he really showed out, and he's fast. He's sneaky fast. So I don't know. That's my take. I think that, like you said, Josh, the defensive line played much better, and they really played well in the second half. That's where I was when I made the comment about the strength and conditioning guy. That was a time, and historically, you would have seen us fold like a cheap tent because we didn't have any depth. Now we're playing with a little bit of depth, and you see with that, and the depth we have, it's playable depth. Before we would just throw guys out for a couple plays and they get waxed, and then we'd have to put a gas guy back in the game. But the playable depth is significant. Defensive line, they stopped in the second half when it counted. Yeah, we bent a lot. I think FSU had over 500 and some yards. So what? We had more points at the end of the game. So it's all that matters.
Yeah. No, I think, I've already said my piece about the secondary. I echo what both of y'all have said about the defensive line stepping up in a way that, Josh and you have kind of talked about that for 2 or 3 weeks in a row, waiting for them to kind of have their moment. And I thought, like you said, the second half and in the overtimes, especially when you think about it, they didn't give up a touchdown after that fourth down amazing pass. And even then, in regulation, they didn't give up a touchdown after that, and they were in Tommy's grill the entire time. His last 4 or 5 dropbacks for QB pressures and him, having to scramble to make something happen. So credit to them for that. On the offensive side, this is going to sound weird, but stay with me. I like and Morris reminds me a bit of a Baker Mayfield type. And what I say about that is, like, he's got a live arm. He can make some plays. He's got just enough renegade in him that he can make a play with his legs. To your point, Jeff, he's got some speed, but he's not a running quarterback. He's not going to break away and look for it, but he's got enough wheels that when he takes off, he can make you pay for it. He's smart about when to run. Where in the past we've had some QBs whose their first threat is their legs, maybe, or they become over reliant on that ability to create a little bit of chaos. I feel like Chandler's still looking to make a play, almost sometimes to his detriment with his arm to the very end of a play, but he's got just enough in there. So, I'm not saying he's going to win the Heisman or anything like Baker. Baker had an especially special run when he got the OU, but it's a similar sort of play style that I see there. Weakest link on the offensive side of the ball could be Morris and the receivers on one-on-ones. I still, there's still some issues there. I think, we did have the turnovers in the first half, which are a little bit concerning, trying to push the ball a little bit too much, trying to make a little bit too much happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think there's a huge I can't nitpick a team that's scoring 46 points a game.
Yeah, and their ball, other than the 3 or 4 interceptions that he's thrown this year, and I think he threw 2 the other night. But ball security,
3, maybe 4. Yeah,
ball security's been on point. They haven't lost a fumble.
Yeah,
knock on some wood there. But when's the last time you could say 5 games into a season that we haven't put the ball on the ground a bunch of times?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's been a minute.
So, right now we're +2 in turnover margin right now, which hasn't been the case. We haven't finished the season on the plus side since 2018.
Wow.
It's a long time.
Since even 19 -3, 20 -1, 21 -4, 22 9 -9, -6 and 23, -4 last year. Granted, again, we're only 5 games in. We're halfway through. We're still on the plus side, which is also credit to us taking the ball away a lot more, which is something that we've not done a lot of in the last few years. So, and we're staying penalty free, which is something that I feel like has been a major pain in the butt for this program for the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with all that. And you can't really nitpick a team that's scoring the way they are, is in top 5 in yards, up there in points. The only thing you can point out is, the things that you've seen and the things that have cost them a little bit. And it's the trying to extend plays, the Baker Mayfield-esque of not knowing when to settle for what you have to settle for. I do kind of think – I think this is being extremely nitpicky, so I'm not trying to really say this in a terrible way. But I do think Chandler maybe sticks to some receivers a little bit too long, doesn't really progress through his reads as much as I'd maybe like to see from a fifth-year guy. But I mean, that's like I said, they're getting it done. They're doing good. Just maybe realizing sometimes, hey, throwing this thing away is not the worst thing in the world if it saves us an extra play. First, second down, no big deal. Do what you got to do. But kind of to speed this up a little, sorry, we've got some questions flowing in here. So
Sure.
Bring up Anthony here. We appreciate that. New guy subscribing. Love that. He's got a nice question here, though. I'm assuming he's maybe not the biggest UVA fan, but just a general college football fan, talking about opinions on ESPN FPI rankings. So for me, I'm going to be completely honest. I'm not super into the advanced metrics. Anthony, I would love to encourage you to join our forum if this is your kind of thing, because we have a thread that's literally called Stat Nerds, and it's all of this type of stuff gone over and over in a circle. That truthfully, they get a little too deep into the advanced metrics, and it kind of loses me. It's kind of beyond me a little bit. My thing on these type of rankings, and it's the same looking at basketball rankings and different things, Maya, Ken Palm, all that stuff. Those are good to give you a baseline, of who should be kind of considered in what grouping. But beyond that, to nitpick down okay, well, this team is 8th while that team is 5th, I think is kind of just a little too much relying on data when it comes to a sport. Just my opinion on that. Dragon, you got anything on that one?
Yeah, this is the first time I've seen the most updated ranking for them. So I'm going off of what Anthony has here in the chat. And I'm similar, like everyone knows, I'm not a data guy, really, despite the fact of my gambling record. But I just kind of go off of what I see and what I know, and just, I love stats, but there's certain ones that I don't think matter as much. Looking at this grouping right here, I would say it's pretty accurate. I do think that, a little bit of recency bias over what Ole Miss's offense is doing to kind of bump them ahead of Miami. At the same thing with Georgia. I don't think that Georgia's quite up there anymore. Notre Dame's just got too much talent to have the record that they do, and the fact they've lost 2 games by 4 points to 2 teams in the top 25, top 15 for that matter. They're better than they look. Bama's clearly better. I don't know what happened that season opener down in Tallahassee, but I still watched them play a lot this year. So yeah, it's probably a little bit inaccurate, but I'm not going to get too worried about it. With the way that college football set up now, with the playoff and everything, I don't get too worried about it. It's the same thing with like college basketball. 68 teams get in. If you can't get in, you didn't deserve to get in. I'm sorry. Like, sorry for even those of us as Hoos who were sitting there cheering 2 years ago. We're on the bubble. 68 teams get in. You can basically get in at being 500 and being average.
Right.
Same thing to college football. Like, would I like to see a 16 or 18 team playoff? Yeah, it'd be fine. But the real reality of it is 12 is about the right number. After that, there's a pretty tangible drop off in talent that just can't be overcome. And I think you see that with just, you see it all the time. And, you get certain teams kind of pop up against other teams and you're just like, oh, there's a different level here. And you're not quite on that level yet. And so, yeah, I wouldn't nitpick it too much. But, yeah, I for the sake of argument, I wouldn't agree with those rankings. But I'm not going to, worry about them too much, though.
Yeah, it's too early to really, I think, to get caught up in the stat thing because everybody's playing directional schools the first couple of weeks of the season, right? I mean, so they're inflating their stats and all that kind of thing. I haven't seen a lot too much, but what I've seen in Miami, I think FSU may put a beat down on them this week.
That would be the most ACC thing possible is that FSU comes out and wins by 2 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. I've watched Miami a few times this year. I think they have the best defensive line, maybe the best front seven that I've seen out of anyone in the country this year. So that and seeing what the Who's defensive line was able to do and getting after Castanelas, I think that could cause some trouble. And then more importantly, Mario Cristobal wants to run the ball. He wants Miami to run the ball. I mean, that's an O-line coach who's become a head coach.
Right.
He wants to run the ball, run it a lot. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's, dissected the film from Friday night and says, I know our game plan. We're going to run the ball 45 times. And see if FSU can find their mojo again. So, but I do think they're a good team. I think they're the best team in the league, though. I do think I have Miami at the top right now with Georgia Tech following, and then probably a weird clumping of Virginia and Duke, maybe Cal, Florida State.
So we'll go ahead and shift gears. Sorry, Josh, it took us a little bit to get here, but everybody's so excited from that Florida State game. Like, there's so much to talk about. We could go on with that for another hour if we wanted to. Kind of jumping straight into the Louisville game here. I don't know, to be honest. I don't really know what the deal is with Grady's health. I don't think he's dressed yet this season, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know if maybe I missed a headline somewhere that he's out for the year or, what's going on. I'm not for certain. I will say, though, I don't think they run a tush-push set without him. I think that Grady Bunch thing is kind of a very specific role. And I think, they've shown a good variation, too, so far this year of some different plays they can draw up in those goal line or short yardage situations. We've seen the designs with the running back direct snaps, kind of like a wildcat set. And some of the variation, they've been kind of bland in what they've actually ran off of it so far, but you can see those wrinkles of things that they could do different. So I don't think that we're going to necessarily see the tush push unless Grady's back to full health this week, which, again, I don't think he's dressed yet, so I don't know what's going on there. But that's kind of where I'm at on it. Is I feel like if he's not in, it's not going to be something we see.
Yeah, you're not throwing Morris into there. We don't need a tush push. They don't need a tush push, really. They don't get in a ton of third and shorts like that or fourth and shorts like that to begin with. And to your point, Josh, they have enough weapons right now and enough wrinkles in their offense that, I don't think it's a nice to have, but it's not a make or break at all for the team. It's kind of like people talk about with the Eagles all the time, like, oh, they need the tush. The Eagles would be fine without a tush push. Have you seen that offensive line? They could still run the ball down your throat for 6 inches if they need it. So,
it's the thing. 5 games in, 1,200 rushing yards. Like, I don't really think it's necessary.
Yeah, 240, 12th in the country with 243 yards a game right now on the ground. You know, they got 3 backs who are all trending to like, you know, it's a legitimate possible. Like 2 backs might crack 1,000 yards this year for this team, which is insane. Like, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel good about it. The Louisville game, though, Peggy up the thread. I'll throw it back up here. Like we've already kind of alluded to, the idea of a letdown is such a big thing in this game. That honestly, like I sat and watched most of that Louisville Pitt game Saturday, and I think the best thing to come away from it for me was the fact that Louisville did come back and win, because I think it's better served for our team to see another like a 5-0 undefeated team they have to face, as opposed to coming off such a huge emotional win and then playing a team that, they were down 17-0. If it would have stayed that way, where Pitt would have just kind of controlled them, maybe we'd have been kind of in the same seat Florida State was, where maybe we got a little too feeling ourselves too high amongst it and could be more prone to the letdown. It is, though. It's got to be tough. I mean, Jeff, you were there. You can definitely give us more insight on it. What is it? How hard is it coming up? I mean, as a fan, like I'm thinking of how hard it is just trying to come off a win like that and staying amped for the next game. But what is it really like in there?
Well, unfortunately, when I played, there weren't a whole lot of.
So did you have a big win?
Big wins. Well, our biggest win, I will tell you, we beat North Carolina at home, and I think at one time that was my avatar. That I think at the old Scott Stadium, they put up there. It's a long way back to Chapel Hill. And that was, I still think that was one of the coldest things ever. And
that's harsh.
yeah. And I have a picture of that in my office, and it's unbelievable. But yeah, that was probably the biggest win that when I played, other than the team when they beat Purdue. But to the coach's point, and Dragon was talking about that letter that Tony put out for the fans. Yeah, let's get back to work, and that's what it. They're they're focused on Louisville. Yeah, they're looking at ESPN every now and then, and somebody's calling them who wants to talk to them. That they didn't want to talk to them in the beginning of the year, so I'm sure the press requests are going through the roof and that kind of thing. Hopefully, our staff is keeping them grounded and letting them know we hadn't won anything yet. Still a long season ahead. A lot of goals to be achieved. Nobody wins any national championships in September or October, right? Just like everybody every year to throw in a little basketball for the basketball boys out there. How many times has Duke won a national championship in November, right? Everybody picks them every year because it's a safe bet, right? But I think the staff, they're in tune with the fellas. They've got a good mix on that staff. They got a lot of young guns in there that Chris Slade looks like he can still play.
Yeah, that's a fact.
I walked by him last year at that game. I was like, "Jeez, I think he can still come off the edge."
He still got about 10 reps in him, I think, if he needed them.
I think so. I think he could. So, but I think the staff is probably keeping them grounded. And will there be a little bit of a letdown? Sure, because that was such an emotional high that they're coming down off of. But all it will take is getting hit in the face one time.
Bingo.
And last week didn't happen. So
yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that one. I think this is the blessing of having a coach who's won national championships, who's been in this exact position multiple times. He understands the big picture. That staff understands the big picture. The assistants do. They understand. To your point, Jeff, 4-1's great, but you haven't even gotten bowl eligible yet. You got a lot of work to do.
Right.
And it's really easy. It's really easy to pump that message out to everyone and be like, okay, we could have won that game and still be the worst team in the league if we don't get our act right for the next 4 weeks here.
And that's the truth. I don't think that just being bowl eligible is one of their was one of their preseason goals. I think they want to go to the ACC championship. I think they want to go to a New Year's Day bowl. And
Yeah.
we play like we did Friday night for the most part, and they can make that dream come true.
Yeah.
'Cause
I think bowl eligible was an expectation, not a goal. I think 6 wins was the expectation. I think you're right. I think their goal, if you talk to anyone on staff going into the season, was to find their way into the top 3 of the ACC and let the chips fall they may. From there, you can't always predict what's going to happen with weird, especially when you have NC State, but it's not a conference game, whatever. But like, find your way to 7 or 8 wins, about 8 wins, and let God sort them out. Basically, at the end of the day, and whoever gets those 2 tickets to the ACC championship gets them. But at least you're going to give yourself a chance to raise your hand to go. And I'd imagine that's still the mantra. That's the mantra that they were talking today at practice. It's the mantra they were talking yesterday. And yeah, I'm not worried about that. I think looking at Louisville, it's interesting. So I watched that Pitt game, and I was like, I forgot Miller Moss came over from USC, which made me laugh. He ended up in Louisville, and after leaving Lincoln Riley, but go to Brom. But at first I was like, man, this kid's a stud. How in the world did he end up there? And then I started kind of digging into him a little bit more. I was like, oh, like, he's got 2 big games essentially this year, but if you actually look at his stats, they're worse than Morris's. Not by a lot, but he hasn't performed at the same level Morris has this season, which I was like, okay. And he's playing on a much more one-dimensional team that's quite honestly struggled on offense a little bit, comparatively speaking, to what we've seen executed on the field at Scott Stadium the last few weeks. And so, I started off earlier. I said I'm worried about their passing game, because that's the thing. They're one-dimensional. They're throwing the ball around for almost 280 yards a game. They don't make any attempts really to run it or running it for 130, but that's mostly because they played bad teams and gotten garbage time carries. So they're going to try to get up early. And the flip side of that is, as someone said, Joe said he wanted to see a tight game. They're never out of a game because they're going to throw the ball. I think I saw Moss threw the ball 60 times last week. They're going to chuck that thing around. And so they're never going to be out of it. So you're going to have to, if the Who's run the same game plan and it can execute it even close to what they did last week, where they're going on these 6-7 minute drives, they'll be fine.
Yeah. I think when I was watching it the other night, and I was listening to what the commentator said a little bit, because Friday night I didn't give a shit what they said. I wasn't paying attention to what they were saying, other than that was his name, Bob Confusion. That's what I call him. He was such a seminal homer that if you heard his first call on when Florida State scored their first touchdown, he's like, "Yeah, that's the Seminoles right there," or something like that. And I hit the mute button.
Have to do like the basketball game, sync up the radio broadcast of the football game. Listen to it that way.
Yeah.
But one thing for this Louisville team, just kind of looking into some numbers. Now I will say, grain of salt here, the far and away best team they've played so far this year is Pitt, which kind of says something in itself. But they come in this game a top 20 defense. They're only giving up 268 yards a game. So there's some numbers there to back up at least some decent play. I do kind of think, I mean, maybe it's just me. I don't really understand the line. Like, I don't understand why it opened at a touchdown. I don't understand why it's going up the other way for Louisville. There must be something I must be missing there. Moss seems to me like a guy that if you let him sit and pick you apart all day, he can make some plays. He can make some of that stuff happen. So for me, I think this is going to be kind of the flip side where we had Dez with the masterful game last week. I think if Rudd could really dial up a great defense this week, disguise it a little bit, maybe get some rush on him, get him uncomfortable, because I thought watching him Saturday that he was nowhere near as accurate on the move. It could definitely benefit the Who's. So that's kind of what I'm looking for this week, is judging more or less the other side of the ball, seeing how we hold up. What kind of key you got on this one, Dragon?
Yeah, I think that's really going to be it. I think, if I'm Dez on offense, I want to see a pretty heavy rinse and repeat. I'm a little bit nervous. I still would like to see what's going on with Chandler's hand. I haven't heard anything about that yet. And so that was actually my first instinct when I saw the line come out. I was like, oh, maybe they know something about that thumb. that the rest of us don't know yet. I don't have any insight into it, so I'm not saying one way or the other, but I do worry about that and just how much he's going to be able to spin it come Saturday afternoon. But I think offense, though, you want to come out and let that be your identity again. Smart, timely QB takes, attack down the field where the opportunity is there, but use your best defense is going to be keeping Louisville off the field with long, sustained drives. Take away, if you hammer away at them, they're going to fold. No team, I mean, you just folded one of the best defensive lines in the country. No team's going to want to go up against that again. And then defensively, yeah, I think I want to see Rudd continue to dial up the pressure. Moss has thrown a lot of picks. He's thrown 3 or 4 picks already this year. He's shown that if you rattle him, he gets a little inconsistent. He gets a little bit off his mark. He doesn't run. He's not someone that's going to run around the pocket and find and make plays. He's got negative rushing yards on the season, so that tells you right there that if you can get to him, and it's hard, their O-line's good, but if you can get to him, you can dial up a pressure package and get to him, or if you can get to him with 4 especially, you're going to just dismantle their entire offensive attack. They're not looking to run the ball. They wanted to get him to set back there, scan the field, make his plays downfield. And so I think that's going to be the key is getting the front 4 active and then augmenting that with timely blitz packages just to keep him guessing, keep him having to read if he doesn't ever feel comfortable and can't trust his eyes. And if you can do that, it'll stifle that passing game. Yeah, Louisville hasn't played anyone yet. They played one FBS team and they gave up 34 points or 27 points to them. They haven't been tested yet.
No, I just hope our guys have put that game, the Florida State game, behind them. I want them to reminisce about it at the end of the year and talk about what a hell of a night they had and what they don't remember from that night, right? Eventually. But I'm with you, Dragon. I think, I was gonna make a point a little while ago, but at one point, one of the announcers said that we had the ball for 8 minutes. In one drive, it was 8 minutes.
I think so, yeah.
I mean, that's over half a quarter, right? I mean, a quarter's 15. Even I know that, and I'm mathematically challenged. So, but I think we own the possession time. We hold the ball, not 4 or 5 yards of play. 4 or 5 yards of play. We will wear them down. Wear them down.
Yeah.
I feel good about it. I don't feel as good as I did last week, but I still feel good. It's just that possibility of a letdown.
It's hard to get up twice in a row.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's tough when you're talking about kids and especially kids that go to UVA. I mean, that you all know it's a tough place to do both things: play sports and go to class.
Yeah. I mean, and there was some natural buzz going into last week just of it's Florida State, they're ranked, the history, anyone who knows UVA ball knows about 95 and talks about 95. I mean, there were threads everywhere. Where were you in 1995? And, there's just a natural buzz going in it. They had to throw back, they pulled out all the Friday night game, like all the specialty stuff that you can do to create a buzz around the game was happening in that game. And then now you're going business as usual in a sneaky hostile place. I guess it's the best way to call it. Like, again, not a hotbed for football in Louisville in terms of how that crowd's going to react, but they're going to show up. It's not going to be an empty stadium at all. And so it's just this one you have to manufacture. This is one of those ones where, hopefully Tony Eller's out there and, he does a Michael Jordan thing. It's like, we're going to make this personal. We're still that team that everyone thought was terrible back in August. You're still that team. This is still, you're only one game away from that again. You're only, whatever it is. I had a coach tell me one time, you're going to be mad at your dog, your girlfriend, something, but you'll be mad by the time we get out there on Friday night. And that's what they need to feel. They need to be mad by the time they get out there and find a way to self-motivate to just have that chip back on their shoulder.
Yeah, just kind of looking ahead at it too. So after this one, the Who's have a bye. Before the schedule, truthfully, it really opens up with probably one of the easier stretches left. I mean, for a Power Four team in the country, Washington State, Cal, Duke, Wake, a lot of games that are very winnable. And if they can win this game, I mean, truthfully, I think double-digit wins really actually comes into play. Like, I think that's a legitimate. I wouldn't say it should be the expectation, but like an actual goal that could be there. Like, it really opens up well if they can pull this one off.
Yeah, I mean, this is the last time they'll be a dog all season, barring an injury of some sort, something weird happening. But yeah, this is the last really quality team I see the Who's facing over the next 2 months, basically. I told someone earlier, I don't know what Duke is. I don't know. I have no idea if they're good or bad. I honestly can't tell. I don't think they're world beaters. Same thing with Cal. I don't know what Cal is, but I don't think that they're world beaters, So, and then other than that, I'm not worried about Vatek. I'm not worried about anything else that's on the schedule. And so it's just get by this game, and then it's just, you're chipping away that rock for the next 2 months and just chipping away, trying to get to December 1 and just, again, let the chips fall, they fall there, but you can't get there without just every week paying your dues.
Yeah. Got to stay healthy. Got to stay healthy. Got to stay away from the from the injury bug to the key folks. We got to get our center back. Was it Brady something?
Wilson.
I don't know. Wilson. Yeah. Got to get him back because he's a stud. He is a difference maker. So let's see, what's that? Do you guys wish UVA, instead of running the scheme you guys do currently on offense, move more towards a West Coast air raid style? I think we have a little bit of West Coast in that.
It's
sure. We do have some, some flashes of that. I mean, we go up tempo, right? When's the last time we have gone up tempo and succeeded? We did it pretty well the other night. So it was well timed, well placed, and it threw the Noles off. So I don't know if we'll ever go full air raid. That's just not our DNA. I want to ground and pound, baby.
Yeah. No, I mean it's pretty clear. If anyone's watched FSU, if anyone's watched Clemson football play in the last 10 years, I mean, that's where Tony Elliott cut his teeth, and they're a power spread team. You think of them, yes, they've had great quarterback play, and nasty Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence, but it's Travis Etienne who was with the straw that made that drink stir for years.
Yeah.
And they did it with a mobile offensive line. They run a power spread, and that's what Elliott's always wanted to run here, and he finally has the horses to run it here. And I think that's what we're seeing. And to your point, Jeff, it's kind of the best of both worlds. It does have a little bit of West Coast in it. We're dumping some balls off in the flats. We're kind of getting off to some of that short stuff. It's not really a vertical game, but it does take his shots when they're there. But it's going to be always focused on the run. I'm not one for gimmick offenses. I think it's a bad idea. I think they're program killers. When you go to them and teams go all in them, if you strike and you hit it and it's great, you can stay hot for a couple of years. But generally speaking, true Mike Leake air raid offenses, what programs have really found lasting success with that at the top levels? No one. No. Triple option offenses, those things are, Paul Johnson squandered a lot of great talent at Georgia Tech. He had some high highs for sure, but it doesn't work long term. So I like what they have right now. They're running something that's sustainable. They're running something that, they're able to plug and play parts in when people get hurt, like they are right now on the offensive line. And unless the staff majorly changed, as in we get a new head coach and new coordinators, I don't see any major wrinkles coming to this power spread they're running.
Yeah, it's a pro offense.
Yeah.
You see the same kind of offenses on Sunday that you saw Friday night that we're running. So I'm ecstatic about our offense. I can't I can't hardly control myself talking about how impressed I am so far. And I've been a big critic. I've been a very big critic for a while, and I don't mind having to throw a humble pie in the oven every now and then. or barbecue some crow in the backyard. I'll eat that shit all the time if we're gonna win. I don't give a damn.
Yeah, I mean, you're averaging over 500 yards offensive game and 45 points.
Yeah.
Why? What else can we possibly do to make it? I mean, teams talk all the time about balance. 245 on the ground and 295 in the air every night.
Yeah,
I'll take that. I want that. I don't know what you want to call it. Call it whatever you want to. I want that. Whatever offense gives me those numbers,
right.
That's what I want.
Efficient. I call that efficient.
Bingo.
For sure.
30. What are they? 56% of their third down conversions are being third down situations are being converted right now.
Yeah, they're 45 out of 79. That turns out to be 57.9%.
Give me that all day.
So,
yeah,
all day. All day long.
Put whatever label you want on it, but I want us to go out and do that every night.
And their time of possession per game is 34 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean that's strong.
If you can't get that all, and they're scoring touchdowns. It's not like they're selling for field goal. They're scoring 7. And
hey, you know what?
To deal with that.
And one thing we haven't talked about the punter.
It's actually been solid this year.
Well, what's is Sparks? He's hurt.
So yeah, something happened this week, right? Because he ended up. I don't even think they announced him on the injury report, right? It must have been something pretty last minute.
Yeah, he punted. The left-footed guy punted last week, I think, against Stanford, and he punted again against FSU a couple times. He's got a big leg.
Yeah,
he's got because he kicks off too. So.
He can boom it. Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize he was a different guy, but yeah, he can definitely boom it.
Yeah, so it's good. It's good whenever you're talking about a team that 30, 40 years ago occasionally would have a punter that was the player of the game. It's not a good thing. Not a good thing.
Yeah, you never want to be the Pro Bowl punter. The chances
no, exactly. So
yeah, I think we got through most of our questions. We've kind of gone along tonight, but Jeff, want to thank you. Appreciate you coming on and joining us. I'm sorry to take up a little bit longer than we normally do on these, but we've loved having you, man. It's been great.
Yeah, I'll come back anytime you guys will have me. I love doing this stuff. I love
we
UVA and I love talking sports, especially about my school.
We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right, guys.
Everybody tuning in. It's going to be Saturday, 3:30. ESPN2 is the TV designation. So national televised game again. Should be good time. Hopefully the Hoos, the winner of this game really puts themselves on a good track as far as trying to get to the ACC championship game, being kind of in the inside track to that and jockeying for, good bowl position. I've seen Who's Got Next posted something about the Pop-Tart Bowl, calling us the team of the week, which, everybody that's seen this knows I'm all here for the Pop-Tart Bowl. So hopefully that ends up happening.
We're going to the Sugar Bowl. What are you talking about?
That's the only way I'll take it down on it. I joked earlier on the preseason show saying I don't care about the college football playoff. Well, now all of a sudden we have like an 11% chance, and I'm like, I would do anything for the college football playoff.
It'd be real nice when I get to fly up there on December 17th to host a home game on a Friday night inside Scott Stadium.
Yeah,
good stuff, guys.
Saturday. We'll be back again next week with another show. Until then, go Hoos.
All right. Wahoo, baby. See you guys.